Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the YouTube Creators Hub podcast. My name is Dusty Porter, the host of the show, as always, and today we are joined by Kris O'Neill from the Sew the Distance YouTube channel. Let me tell you a little bit about Kris before we get going. She is a Christian wife, mother, teacher, and avid quilter, so a crafter. She's married to her husband, Brendan, and they have two grown sons. They live in rural Pennsylvania with their mischievous golden retriever, which I know that very well as I have two of those puppies, golden retrievers. Hers is named Daisy. Kris, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You reached out to me, which is rare. I have a ton of people reach out to me, but very few of them ever make it onto the podcast. Not because I'm judgmental. It's just because I like to have a certain type of creator on the show. Number one, with experience and kind of some success on the platform. And you've had that success. You've posted over 400 videos. You are now over 42,000 subscribers. And probably the most interesting thing about you and your channel is you have a very passionate fan base and people who are really into crafting. So if you would, give me the origin story of the channel, Sew the Distance. Again, that is S-E-W the Distance. Obviously, a little bit of play on words there. So give us the full origin story of the channel.
So I was a high school teacher, and during the pandemic, we of course went full remote, and I was forced to learn video and see myself on video, which was probably my biggest hurdle with YouTube in general. And then when everything just came together with the pandemic and everything got a little nuts, so we ended up moving to Pennsylvania, and I wanted something to do. I loved quilting for years, almost 30 years now, and I also loved watching quilting creators on YouTube. So my son said to me, "I think you could do that, Mom." And I thought, maybe I can. So I feel like I was eased into it a little bit because of remote learning. I started the channel waiting. I was going to become a teacher again here in Pennsylvania, but all the testing sites were closed. And I ended up doing this and really haven't looked back. I loved it and it took off.
So give me the kind of premise of the channel.
Okay.
Obviously, Sew the Distance, it's a crafting channel. You say on your channel here, if I go to your description, you've been into sewing and quilting since 1995. You started the channel in 2020, kind of what you just talked about for your love of quilting. You offer tutorials, lessons from an old quilt, which is interesting, and we'll definitely talk about that. But what would people come to expect on your YouTube channel?
So you would see me teaching different tutorials, very simple quilts. I really like to cater to the beginner quilter and learning the techniques. I am very honest on my channel, so I will make mistakes and I leave them in the video. And I talk about things to look for, some possible issues you might have, get ahead of those when you are quilting and sewing. And I have a lot of fun and try to teach and educate new quilters especially.
What would you say was the hardest part when you first started, as far as just the YouTube side of things? You already knew how to quilt, so that part of it was already there. But as far as the YouTube stuff, the YouTube channel looks so good. I love the channel banner. The branding is so well done. What would you say were some of the difficulties early on in getting going?
Thank you very much. I worked hard. It's just me. I'm a one woman show here. So I learned a lot by watching YouTube videos, listening to podcasts like yours, and going from there. I think the learning curve was probably the hardest part, especially when I decided to take it seriously. The first, I would say, year, I really was going by the seat of my pants and didn't have a plan, never looked at the analytics, didn't do any of that stuff. So it was hard to get my footing in the beginning. That was probably the most difficult, especially because I was wishy-washy on whether I wanted to do a YouTube channel or not. And once I finally committed, it got a little bit easier, but then the work, of course, began. So I started to really research how to do it, what the analytics meant, all that stuff.
Yeah, there's so many ins and outs of YouTube's, the numbers, the data, the analytics, and the watch time, and this and that. What were the things you focused on early on that you think set you up for success? Like some things that you can really look back on and say, when I did this, because a lot of people are wondering, why can't I grow a channel? Why am I not getting any traction? But can you list a couple of things that you did early on that you can attribute some of the success to?
Yeah, so the biggest thing that I did besides the learning, really committing to a couple hours at least a week of learning about YouTube and the analytics, The biggest hurdle I had was I would look at the analytics and be very discouraged. Oh, they only watched 3 minutes of my video. And there's a lot of self doubt that comes along with that. But
Mm.
in reality, if you look at it as just data, don't take it personally because people have lives and sometimes there could be a million reasons why they left your video. It could be you, but there could be a million other reasons why they left your video. And also looking at, am I seeing a consistency of people leaving my video when I say something or don't say something or have a long pause or whatever that may be, trying to figure it out. I spent a lot of time, I still spend a lot of time on that aspect of looking at the data. And I think going in, I thought it would be my time consuming part would be making videos, but in reality, it's the back end of stuff that I take a lot of time with.
Yeah, and we'll certainly touch on that because I think there's a lot of people that are interested in that side of it. You mentioned the learning aspect of it, and it's like drinking out of a fire hose is an analogy that I use because there's so many tutorials and podcasts out there like this one about how to grow a channel, how to do it the right way. And I've always been one of the mantra, there is no one right way. There's so many different ways to do things. As my grandmother would say, there's more than one way to skin a cat. That's what she would always tell me. And I believe that about YouTube in that I know there are some best practices, but as far as how everyone gets to the goal or finish line, there may be a bunch of different ways. So how did you learn? What did you do? And what did you consume early on to get you up to speed?
So I'm a lifetime learner. I'm a teacher by trade. So I know how people learn and I know how I learned. So that was really important to understand how I learned. And I knew if I looked at it as an elephant, my dad always said, how to eat an elephant one bite at a time. If I looked at it as the whole elephant, I was going to be very overwhelmed. So what I did was I made myself a schedule. So one week I would focus on Canva. I'm going to learn everything I can about Canva. I'm going to learn everything I can about thumbnails. And each
Mhm.
week I would have a different goal. I also heard somewhere, might have been on your podcast, to be 1% better each time, or I think it was a book I read, I can't remember, but that's my goal still, is every time I make a video, I am going to be a little bit better, or I'm going to try something that I haven't tried yet. And that really has helped me because it made me learn my own style and it forced me to learn some of the technology.
It's interesting. So you use your learning and you had it in segments. You basically
Yes.
said, okay, this week we're going to learn about analytics. This week we're going to learn about Canva, the free tool I hear people talk about so I
Mhm.
can do thumbnails or Photoshop or my audio. Like you took
Yes.
these things and you put them in what I always tell people, bite-sized chunks, which makes it a lot easier to tackle. Would you not agree?
Yes, absolutely. It was a lot easier to tackle and I could check things off as I learned them. But then I'm always circling back around relearning things because with YouTube things change.
Hmm.
You just have to look at today. What video are you making today? How can you make it the best that you can make it with the tools you have, with the equipment you have right now? And how can you change going forward, have those goals to change going forward too?
How do you pivot? My wife's a teacher, you're a former educator, right? So like even in education, like things are always changing. There's new techniques, there's new styles, new ways to handle children, right? And the same goes for YouTube. The algorithm changes seems like every other week. So with that being the case, like how do you stay on your toes and still create good content?
Great question. I'm still trying to figure that out in a way. It is constantly changing. So I do make sure I'm up to date with new on YouTube, the videos they put out every Tuesday. I make sure I watch them to see what's going on. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I consume a lot of content myself. I'll look at other creators and see what they're doing and pivot that way. But it is really hard to keep up with that. So for me, I like to make videos I know are tried and true, like my lessons from an old quilt. I have a fan base for them, especially when I'm in a rut. Those are my go-to videos. I happen to just come out of a rut. I just posted a lessons from an old quilt video because of that. I had to get back on track. And then now I can maybe put one in that I want to make, and then maybe one that the analytics is telling me to make. So I mix it in to different grouping. Each time I make a video, I try to determine what did I already put out and what can I pivot into going
So I made a
forward.
note here. You said go-to videos. Now I call
Yeah.
these like tentpole videos or
Yes.
videos that low-hanging fruit or
Mhm.
whatever you can call them
Mhm.
anything, right? Going back to the more than one ways of doing things.
Mhm.
What do you mean by that? Flesh that out a little bit when you're saying go-to videos. These are the ones you go back to when you're in a rut. I love that. What a great
Yeah.
bit of advice.
That's so for me, my go-to videos are the first videos that I started with. I started because I had a collection of antique quilts, and I decided I was going to do. lessons from an old quilt. We were going to look at an old quilt, analyze it, see what we can learn from people that made quilts 100 years ago and what we can learn as makers now. So I have a very structured video. So it's almost like a formula. It is a formula. I've tried to veer from the formula. People don't like it. So I'm back on the formula, and I do my introduction. I take a closer look. I give 3 lessons, and then I do my outro. And that to me is a comfort food almost, if you can call it that. I know it like the back of my hand, and I can go into it, make the video in the morning, and have it posted that evening.
I think it's important that we dive deeper into this thought process, and I want to do this with you together as we have this conversation today. The comfort food thing related to your go-to videos is important. I had someone on a coaching call this week tell me that one of the main reasons they like my podcast is because they know what to expect. They know some of the questions I'm going to ask. They know it's going to last 30 minutes. They know what I'm going to ask the guest. And so for them, they can go into it knowing what they can get out of it. And so for you and your audience and your community, why do you think this works so well? Obviously for you, the creator, and I hope you're listening to this right now, people taking notes. As the creator, it gives you a template to go by so you're not having to go to the well of, oh, I've got all these ideas. Which one do I do? Or the opposite is, I have no ideas and I'm burnt out, or I'm in a rut, like you mentioned previously. Why do you think this works so well on both sides of a creator and a viewer?
So for me, it's definitely, I know I have a core audience that loves these videos. Now, granted, they're not the ones that are the bangers. My tutorials do much better, but I have that core audience that's been with me from the beginning, that's keep telling me there's nothing else like it on YouTube. They love the way I do it. And if I can I try to give them that once a month. I like making the videos too, because basically they're very easy for me to make because of that formula. So having that, knowing what I need to do to get that out there and what my audience is expecting is just a wonderful partnership that we have. But I do try to change it, because you start to say, oh, am I getting stale? I'm losing people when I get to the lessons. So I started giving the lessons first. And then I saw those videos would bomb and they didn't like it. But I still have people leaving when we get to the lessons. So I'm not sure exactly how to handle that, other than I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing and not worry about it getting stale. And it really is my lifeline when I'm in a creative rut and I just don't want to turn the camera on.
But it's not the only thing you do. And I want people to
No,
hear that, right? Like you still do
no.
the killer tutorial videos. You still do the entertaining stuff and the different segments
Mhm.
that you do. The programming isn't just these go-to videos. And I think that's what people need to listen, is that you need to
Yes.
find what your go-to video is. But I think before you can do that, you have to identify your target audience, which is something that you've done very well. So you mentioned your core audience and these people who've been with you from the beginning. Let's talk about them for a minute. How did you identify these people? You knew who you were and what you were interested in, but really before you created the content, you had to identify that. So how important was that aspect of it, and how has that kind of grown over time?
That's another great question, because and I thought about this a lot today, knowing that we were going to have this interview and that this would probably be a question, because you asked this a lot too, which is an important question, I think, as new YouTubers. For me, my channel really took off last January, really took off. That's also when I really got serious about it. So what I decided to do was pick my person, and I have, her name's Phyllis. I know who my audience is, and I always ask myself, will Phyllis like this? I know her age. I know she took home ec in school, and she probably started sewing when she was a child. I know everything about her as much as I can. And I got that information. First of all, my mother's that age, so I could ask her a ton of questions, even though she doesn't sew. But I can ask her things about her life, how she was growing up, that helped inform my person. And then I started using this. This is a great tip: the polls on Facebook. You gather, they're not Facebook. I'm sorry,
On
on
the YouTube
YouTube.
community, yeah.
YouTube community, because if you're asking questions like I'd say, how old were you when you made your first quilt? Or who taught you to quilt? Or have you ever taught anybody else to quilt?
Mm.
These questions, first of all, builds the community, which is huge. At least in my niche, it's huge to have that community. This is what they're after. Builds the community, and then it also gives me a ton of information about Phyllis and my core. That's my person. That's who I know I'm making videos for.
Man, I love that. My guy's name was Bob early on, obviously because my tutorials capture men and women alike. I have Bob and Alice. I really don't have a name like you have. I love that you have Phyllis. Phyllis sounds like she would craft. She certainly sounds like she would. And so I love that. So did you go and handwrite or open up a document on your computer of just like you put Phyllis at the top and then you bulleted out just like who this target person was and the types of things she likes and would consume, maybe even her watch history on YouTube? We could go deep with this. Like, how did you flesh her out and then land on something? And I want to ask a follow-up question. How much easier does this make content creation knowing that Phyllis is who she is?
It is so much easier. That's the first answer, but I'll get back to that. So the way I created her is I actually drew her, just roughly drew her a picture of her. So every time
A crafter at heart, an artist at heart.
and I put it on my bulletin board. So I had her up there. So I'd pull her down every time I got more information and say she learned, I'd have lines out from her body saying loves to crochet too, or loves pets or empty nest or whatever it may be. And I just kept building and building. Now I know her so well. I wish I had that paper still. I wish I did, because it probably would be fun to look back at. The thing about Phyllis, though, is she's always changing. You got to keep an eye on your audience, because we're seeing a huge influx of younger people coming into quilting right now. Wow. So my Phyllis is probably within the next 6 months, I'm going to have to reevaluate her and see. So I keep an eye on that, how I'm going to change it, how I'm going to modify it. And I also acknowledge there are men who quilt. I try never to use pronouns. I say the maker when I'm talking about the old quilts, because men make quilts too and still do. So I don't pigeonhole myself so much into that.
But it is important to know, because
Yes.
I was just talking to a client today before, like a couple of hours ago. One of her main struggles is that she's just throwing a lot of stuff out there on her YouTube channel. And the main reason I was telling her that you need to know who your Phyllis is, and obviously who your person or target audience is, right? And that's so powerful what you just said about how they're ever evolving and changing. I cannot tell you how many gaming channels I have seen and have worked with where their audience has grown up and they're no longer teenagers or in their early 20s with a ton of time. They're now interested in other hobbies or other games where those games don't take up a lot of their time. So knowing who your target person is and being able to grow with them and evolve with them and see your interests change as well is an important thing. So man, what a powerful little segment that was there. I hope you guys go back and listen, because it is important to know who you're trying to reach on YouTube. Whether you're entertaining or educating, it doesn't matter. Knowing that is very powerful. Give us the full workflow of like a video from ideation to like post publish. What does that look like from start to finish for you?
It's very messy. And I equate it to writing an essay. Again, going back to my teaching roots, you have your rough drafts, you have all those parts, and then you get to that point that you're like, this just is terrible. This is the worst thing I ever made. This is the worst thing I've ever done. And then you start to edit and things start to evolve, and then you're very proud of it. I think knowing you're going to go into a struggle, for me at least, is a really important part of the process. If I go into it knowing that there's going to come a point that I'm going to think this is the worst video I've ever made in my life during that process, that really helps me on the other end. I start with my ideas. I have a book of ideas. I have a lot of ideas of what I want to make. I'll go through, pick out a few, and then I'll look at the analytics, what's trending. And I try to gear towards that as well, especially with quilting, because we do have trends coming in and out. And then I will narrow it down till I get the idea. Then I will outline it. I don't do a script. I go back and forth on that. I haven't yet. I do a bullet list and I clip it right to my camera so I can refer to it. But I pretty much know what I'm going to say going in, and I have a really good idea of it. And then I just talk a lot and edit out. So I know I'm a talker and I just let myself go. I used to, in the beginning, I'd stifle that a little bit, but then it wasn't natural. And for me, for my audience, I have to be authentic. I have to be who I am. And I found that if I was trying to be somebody I wasn't or be too professional, it just didn't work. So I pulled back on that and I edit. If I say something wrong, I pause, a nice pause so I can clip it out. And then I'll say it again without moving, trying not to move. I also, when I'm editing, I edit out almost all of my ands and so's. And I'm going to say so now. So I go back and I can edit that out, and it does make a crisper end product. I guess I'm getting off topic.
No,
So
you're
I come
not.
up with I come up with the idea. I record, I get everything I want to do, and then I go into editing. Now, for me, because it's quilting, I have to usually make quilt samples. I have to have supply lists. I have to know what I'm going to make. There's a lot of time spent on that, and then I will do the video, and then I'll keep doing, like right now I'm in the middle of a quilting video, and it's recording, sewing, turning off the camera, sewing, prepping the next steps, going back in, recording, doing all that. And I just keep a lot of black shirts. So it's not a big deal if I go into the next day.
And you do everything yourself. You don't have an
I do.
editor, you don't have a producer. It's you, the camera, the quilt, and that's it.
That's it. My husband helps some. I got him and I built our website. And so he'll help with the tech end because that's what he does. So I do have that, but all the video, everything, coming up with the ideas, all the scripting, all the editing, everything I do. He'll take a final look at my videos to make sure I didn't say something stupid. Or if I tell him, look at it, if he can understand what I'm doing, then I feel like the beginner will be able to understand what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
Because I think that's one of the problems with anything like quilting. I know I've been doing it so long, I just know it. I know what to do. So sometimes he'll say, how did you get from there to here?
Sure.
And I'll have to put a segment in.
Yeah, feedback's important, and having a
Mhm.
spouse and a partner and people around you who are motivating and encouraging is a big deal. I've talked about that a lot here, so no need to deep dive that right now. You've mentioned a lot throughout this conversation analytics and data, and you
Mhm.
mentioned just a second ago analytics and trends in crafting and in sewing in
Mhm.
particular. How do you keep up with the trends, and how do you know what data to look at, and which there's a lot of questions there, so I guess you'll tackle those two first.
Okay, so for me, because it is a crafting industry, I will make sure I get to quilt shows. I'm in a quilt guild. I'm surrounded by quilters, so I can hear what they're talking about. I think that's important, being engrossed in that community and knowing what trends are coming out of it. So that's the first step. Sometimes I think I know a trend that's coming up. I'll put out a video and it bombs. So you have to be ready to know that's going to happen too. But I usually will say, okay, like July is always Christmas in July for quilters because that's when all the fabric lines are coming out. So I'm starting to look at some of the major players in the industry. What are they showing? What colors are they showing? What are we seeing? And I pull it from that. But there's a balance because I don't want to make videos that I don't like. I'm not happy doing that. I've done that before, and I, my spark doesn't shine through on the camera. So there's a balance of what I want to make and what I want the analytics to get. So it's getting this marriage together
Hmm.
and offering some things. And then sometimes I take chances on things. I think, oh, this would be a really cool project. Sometimes it works out really well. I had a video last year, the $20 quilt, that took off. It's probably my biggest video. And then I have other ones that I think are awesome and that have bombed. It's a balancing act of making sure that I'm happy as a creator and making sure that I'm catering to the trends.
That's right. No, I agree with everything that you said. I want to talk with you. You obviously have a website. I want to talk with you about
Mhm.
monetization and making
Okay.
money on YouTube. So, can you break down all of your monetization buckets and how you make money as a creator?
Sure. It's not much. It's not much right now. I'm working on it because I'm realizing that affiliate links and affiliate marketing is really, that's where it's at because I'm making a lot more at that. So I'm partnered with a major company for quilting. They reached out to me and I make about 1,000 a month on that. And I do one video a month. They send me all the supplies. I pick the supplies, I put my proposal together, and then I get a commission off of everything sold through that link. So that's probably my big heavy hitter. YouTube itself can be finicky. I'm making about, I think, 20,000 a year on YouTube alone. So that's my other bucket, of course, is AdSense.
Hmm.
And then that's right now, that's really it. And I know I'm missing the mark on that. I know that's something I need to work on because I think I'm leaving money on the table. I
Yeah,
want to get into some
I
more stuff like that.
I think if I was coaching you right now, I would be shaking the screen because I watched a lot of your content and you're averaging thousands, tens of thousands of views on your videos at times, and you have a lot of evergreen content. And I would be encouraging you to get into the affiliate game because, and every bit of thing that you feature in the video, from the scissor to the needle to the color to the thread to the chair you're sitting in, the glasses you're wearing, everything as you're doing these videos, I would be telling you to put that in the description of your videos. And I think you could be making 3, 5, $8,000, $10,000 a month just
Oh my
from
goodness.
affiliate revenue because you have a channel set up for it. You've got an audience that's just thirsting for the knowledge and the content you're producing. And you did a video 3 days ago. It's already got almost 8,000 views. Let's just say only a small percentage of those clicked, and then even a smaller percentage of those bought. You could really do some damage there. So I would encourage you to continue to look into that. I think that's the beauty of this podcast is as we continue the conversation, we can understand how you can better improve your channel. And for you, that's what a great thing to know that you've already got everything in place. It's time for you now to put the monetization methods in place. I foresee the ad revenue going up for you, and then the brands will probably continue to reach out to you. So you would say you might make $30,000 to $40,000 a year on YouTube right now, and it's very unoptimized.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I would say that would be true. I also forgot to mention Amazon. I do have an Amazon. I'm in the affiliate program, but I haven't set up a storefront yet. So
Yeah.
there's things I definitely know I'm leaving on the table. But
Yeah.
again, being a one-woman show,
It's
it can
hard.
be overwhelming.
You can't do it all. I completely understand that. Now, being in the new age of AI, a new question that I like to ask is, are there any AI tools that you're using in the YouTube workflow?
So yes, as a matter of fact, I love the title suggestion, and I've had a lot of luck with that. I have TubeBuddy as my
Mhm.
add-on. I love that too. Any of those, just anything that's going to give me the extra help. I'm not sure if the suggestion is through TubeBuddy or YouTube Studio. Either way, I love that. But I also use ChatGPT especially when I'm trying to get ideas and I'm just not sure what to write on my blog about the video I posted, and just to give it as a starting off point. Occasionally, I'll use it for ideas, and it's more for narrowing down what I want to do. For example, if I want to do something for charities, quilts for charities, I might put that in and say, okay, what are some titles I could use for YouTube for charities? And that usually gets my mind sparked, and I go from there. So,
We always
so I do
talk
use it.
we always talk about off-site things like off of YouTube because we don't own YouTube, but we do own our own website, right? And our email
Yes,
newsletters. Do you have an email newsletter?
I do. I'm only posting, I only send it out once a month, and I need to beef that up too. But I did once a month because that's the way I like to be contacted. But I'm
Right.
realizing that other people like weekly updates. Something that's really been positive for my YouTube or for my newsletter is when I have a segment that's featuring the community post. So they'll send me a picture of a quilt that they made from a pattern, and I'll put that into the newsletter. People love that. Phyllis loves that. And
Mhm.
it's an easy way to connect that audience and get them really excited about my newsletter coming out.
I was out of town for a lot the past month, and I have a new newsletter, and I'm so thankful for all the people that have subscribed from the podcast. And I'm at a number that I didn't think I would reach this early, but I had a gentleman reach out to me, and it's funny. You think that people are worried about spam in their email, but like this gentleman was emailing me saying that he got the first one, and I went out of town, and he hadn't gotten one in a couple of weeks. He thought he had done something wrong, like he had accidentally put me in the garbage or something in his email address, and I haven't responded yet. But I love that's motivating to me. It makes me want to do it, whether there is 50 people subscribed or 50,000 people subscribed, right? Like you just continually show that consistency, and it'll grow that. As we conclude the interview here and we get to the last couple of questions, how important has the website been for you? Being able to have another place for people to go as a destination with you writing posts alongside your video. Talk about that for a minute and what you think and why other YouTubers should do the same.
So for me, the blog really helps because it organizes my thoughts when I'm coming up with a video idea. So I have a lot of drafts in my blogs because it does allow me to write down my ideas, have them all in one place, and then it's ready to go. I can just edit it to get the blog post up with it. I think it helps just because I'm finding people will go to my website, or there's a group of people that go right from my website to my videos, and then there's some that find them on YouTube, and it just all works together. I For me, I think it's helped grow my channel, and it's helped me just have a record of my videos and what I've done, and also a very quick spot that I can go when somebody asks me a question on
Yeah.
a video. I can go right to that and say, "Oh yeah, that's what I used for this."
Yeah.
And I don't have to necessarily watch my own video to see what in the background they're talking about, or what tool I'm
Yes.
using that I'm talking about. So that's been really good. Another thing for my blog is I take screenshots. That's the pictures that you see in the blog for the tutorials are just screenshots right from the video. So I wasn't recreating the wheel by remaking items and getting the pictures for the tutorials. So that helped a lot.
I love that. And my
Yeah.
final question for you, Kris. And by the way, before we get to this final question, I just want to say you were a little nervous before. You've done a fabulous job. This has been a wonderful interview. I have
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed, it's been refreshing. You've got so many just really refined and well thought out kind of strategies behind the channel. And I want people to understand that that's why you succeed. You weren't worried in the first 50 videos if you had a million views. You just kept going. You kept uploading, and the consistency has got you to where you are now, 400 plus videos in. What is next for your channel? Like short term and long term, what are you looking to do next?
For short term, I need to be consistent. I seem to get into these ruts where I don't put out videos, and I need to get much better at that. When I am consistent, I do really well. My numbers are great. And of course, when I'm not, they don't. And that's really important for a couple reasons. One, my analytics aren't going to give me as much information for my videos if I don't
Right.
have videos out there and current analytics. So that's very important to me. And then also I just have to turn the camera on to get out of those ruts. It's really what it comes down to. I don't even know why we get into the ruts, but at least I do. So consistency. And part of that, my goal is to get ahead, because right
Mhm.
now I'm making a video and posting a video, making a video, posting a video. I have to stop that cycle. I have to get ahead
Yes.
at least a couple weeks. There's where I'm going. So long term, I would love to have more patterns. I would love to do on demand videos on my website and not necessarily stop YouTube, but also have other
Both.
platforms where
Mhm.
people can come and get information from me. And those are my two major goals really right now is, and again, I try to keep bite-sized pieces so I don't try to overwhelm myself if I start to really think too far in advance.
If you are listening to this and you want to get in touch with Kris, you can watch her YouTube content over at So the Distance. I'm going to have a link to not just that, but her website as well as her socials on the in the show notes. And Kris, thank you so much again, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.